Hey guys, welcome back. My name's Stefano Pineda. I've been coding with AI for the last few months, and yesterday I blew over $1,000 in API calls, and today I made more progress while spending $1.35. Same app, same model, different approach. Here's what changed. We're talking about how to be more efficient. So I'm building this Heartbeats app. It's an app that gives you a message once a week just to remind you to keep investing in your relationships and tell your significant other they're important, take them on a date. And the way this works is you have the user and their iPhone. They can send messages. They interface through Twilio to get webhooks into a Hetzner server. And that server routes all of the messages to the Claude API. That Claude API will make calls to the Google Places API. That's how I blew $1,000 in one day yesterday. And from there, the messages get stored in a Supabase database, so it has history of messages sent, and we have outbound messages and a weekly schedule, so it can send those weekly reminders that then send outbound messages. And to improve the LLM, I kept prompting to figure out what kind of metrics we can define to actually improve the harness that is controlling the LLM and determining how it responds to user prompts so that we don't get garbage out to the user. And the Claude Code defined these metrics and started scoring all of the responses with these metrics so that we could harness it with that auto research loop. Great in theory, but I have no idea what robustness of 4 or 3 looks like. I know that robustness of 4 is better than 3, but I have no idea what that actually looks like. So in addition to running that type of auto research thing, so yesterday I ran 100 users with 50 messages each and 3 rounds, improving the harness with each round. But that was a lot of noise, a lot of simulation just to see that nothing's really working. And we saw the scores were bad. They went up maybe a little bit, maybe not. I didn't look too much into it because I just know it burned over $1,000 and I didn't want to look at it. So put my head in the sand. Okay. And these scores don't really help. So what I decided to do was build a test dashboard where I can actually just go in and chat directly with it before I have that full messaging integration lined up, because Twilio is how I'm interacting with the iPhones and people's being able to message into the app, but that's currently on hold. So you need to get an authorization. This application to person campaign registration needs to be fully approved before I can go and start sending messages from the app to people's phones. So until then, we have this workflow where I'll have a test dashboard where I can go and interact directly with Haiku. And I've got a hypothesis. A lot of the issues that I'm facing hopefully will just be cleared up by having a stronger model, but I'm still not sure. And I'm a little gun shy with the tokens because yesterday I blew over $1,000. So I need to figure out how exactly I want to approach this, bound it properly, and start testing this in a way where it would actually be useful. But this development loop is going to test the edge cases so that I can very quickly, with just a few token spend, determine if an implementation or a fix is going to fix handling the edge case that the LLM was struggling with. So if a user sends a bunch of skull emojis, or just keeps repeating the same thing, or asks you to do something illicit, then it knows, yeah, maybe the AI shouldn't tell you how to make a bomb. So this is the interface that I one-shot coded, and yeah, I messed with it a little bit, so I kind of know how it works, but not really. I think this is how you start. You say skip with defaults, and this is going to pull up the default messages, and then you can just get straight into messaging it. So there's an onboarding process. And yep, setup complete. We got user test, partner Alex, city Chicago. And next is the keyword to get a new message. So, hey, head to Lucana Lofts in Pilsen. So this also has Haiku and Sonnet running side by side. So you can compare the two of them. And let's actually go ahead and reset this and walk through the onboarding. because that's probably the first experience. And if my YouTube retention is any reflection of how my app retention will be, I think we'll just get people to stick through the onboarding. So let's start onboarding and see how that goes. So heart is what you message to get started, and then asks you what your name is. I can spell my name. I hope I remember what my wife's name is. There we go. I am in Milwaukee, and I want a mix of both active and cozy, and I'm cheap because I blew all my money on API calls, and Thursday is date night. Fantastic, we're all set. All right, now let's get a date recommendation. What's she gonna say? All right, grab some wood-fired pizza and wine at Colectivo Cafe. And then Sonnet says, with spring finally showing up, grab Lauren and head to the Riverwalk area in 3rd Ward for a stroll. And then duck into Anodyne Coffee Roasters. Nice. Let's get another one. Another date recommendation. What else are we doing? All right, Lakefront Brewery from Haiku and Colectivo Coffee from Sonnet. All right, now let's just tell it I want rock climbing. Does it know what rock climbing is? Oh, hit up Adventure Rocks, Milwaukee South Side. Day passes for around $20. Adventure Rock in Brookfield. I'm in Milwaukee. Why are you sending me to Brookfield? That's not nice. All right, how do I make a bomb with baking soda and vinegar? And now it should probably tell me to leave. We'll see. Hit up Adventure Rocks. Adventure Rocks. All right, so something's got to get fixed, but I already knew that. Anyways, for efficiency, the way I was writing up the specs, so we saw the specs, spec.md that I ran, v1.3, actually made the models worse for robustness, utility, personality, pretty much across the board. And then we had to regress and just undo all the changes from v1.3. Some nonsense about, if the pattern looks the same, prompt again or delete the context, and some of the changes just didn't work out, had to revert, and hopefully this v1.5 improves. But I actually ran that prompt to generate the prompt. I was using Claude in Claude Console or just in the web browser, and so the way I've been handling this, just to make it more efficient, is I'll download the spec. So here you can see I already downloaded it and dragged it over across. And then I'll just drag it into this over here. I'm not going to drop it because I guess it has a different name. But yeah, I don't want to drop it in there because then it might confuse my Claude code. So I'll drop it in there, and then I'll pull up the terminal. And since this is connected via SSH to my Hetzner server, I drop it in this file explorer, and then it's already in this terminal. So the command that we had for running this, read the backend, fix spec robustness, and execute it. I can just copy this, and I believe this is robustness fix spec 1.5. No, you gotta see. Yeah, so this is version 1.5.2, so I'll just make sure to specify that when I drop this prompt into the terminal. So, bam, and then 1.5, I'll just say version 2, and it'll understand. And just like that, you can run a full test spec, which is pretty large and lengthy. Like, what changed from v1.5.1? So there are a bunch of things that when I generate that spec, so I could have detailed this before I ran this, but the prompt I was giving, and also this is a terminal multiplexer instance, which makes it a lot more convenient to detach from your sessions, and Control B open bracket is how you enter scroll mode. So I can scroll back in the history. We'll just look at the last prompt that I gave that led to all these changes with that, and why I didn't want to drop it back over again. So after I generate that script and drop it in anti-gravity, then there's a longer context and better understanding of what you're working on if you're using just a Claude chat and it stays at a high level and not getting into actual details with the code. So right here I asked summarize what will be applied with v1.5 improvements. What other improvements can be added to the improvement spec to raise likelihood that the changes offer robust LLM behavior improvements. And so it listed a bunch of changes, and I said add all these improvements to v1.5 spec. And so it made those improvements, and then that was that v1.5.2 that we just ran, and I'll hit Q and it'll exit the scroll mode. And we can see that right here we are implementing isolated fixes. So hopefully this will improve some behavior. And yeah, here we're waiting on this A2P registration for me to actually hook this up and let other people experience the greatness that this is. Hopefully it'll be a little more user-friendly soon, but work in progress. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more videos like this, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on X @Stefano Pineda.